I wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey and this is day 5 of round 2 of the 2025 Carcassonne Champions League, where we'll be witnessing the reigning champion Vladimir Kovalev with a screen name someone you know in action again, this time against a strong Taiwanese expert with a screen name hydrobaby. And this is just the beginning of the day, as we have several matches coming up today, but more on that a little bit later, as this particular match has already started, or at least should be starting in 1 minute or so. At least the 2016 world champion is already online, and indeed the action has commenced. The starting player is the Taiwanese player with the black meeples, currently rated at a solid 603, and someone you know with his traditional green meeples, and almost a master rating of 700. Of course, nowhere near the peak. Someone you know's peak is over 800, and they are the first one to take points into this game, taking advantage of an empty city cap left for them by hydrobaby. But the player with the black meeples will respond in kind. The logical move here is to complete his city and start and not do that. That is an unorthodox move, to say the least, and that's going to be punished real quickly, as someone you know gets a fantastic looking farmer over here. It has... oh, this field already has 6 points, and once this city is completed, this farm is going to be worth 9 points. When this city is completed, this farmer is going to be worth 12 points, and so on. Now, the reason why this move was made by the Taiwanese player, the plan, I guess, was to try and block that square, and then make Vladimir's meeple trapped. But the problem with that idea is that it almost never works. And by almost never, in that particular situation, less than 10% of the time would be my estimate when the meeple is trapped. And the reason for that is because of this black road going over here. There are many scenarios how even when this meeple does get trapped, then this road meeple gets his road curved into that square. This road meeple gets trapped as well. So there's really not much value into attempting this. A more solid move would have been, from black's perspective, to just go over here and equalize the city. And now it looks like Vladimir will be getting himself an advantage, although this is a nice tile by hydrobaby. Let's see if they recognize where to use it. So Vladimir has the first monastery. There are still 5 tiles that fit into this square. They will bring 6 points for this city for green and a meeple back, and will also help to build this monastery. So only a slight advantage here for green, but well, we'll see how the game develops. Hi Andres, hi Milek, saying congratulations on your win, Alexey. Hard match. Thank you so much. This was referred to the match I had on Tuesday, because I kind of... maybe my viewers are also forgetting that I'm also playing this league, because I just commentate much more than play. But yes, I'm playing in Group C. I was playing against Brian Townsend of Chile, and that match I won 2-1. So there was a very difficult second game, which I lost, where... Brian had found a good move to get a stronghold on the field, but maybe we'll get to talk about that a little bit later, as now the cities are in fact completed, and Vladimir even gets one more of those city caps and starts a city over here. Now this tile by black was used to score quick points, but actually that's a move with which I profoundly disagree. It was just much stronger to get his road meeple back without really helping Vladimir's city meeple much, but as a result, we are where we are. And green will be very soon completing his monastery, whilst also connecting to black city. Black gets a city cap as well, and not many good options where to use it, because I guess you could go here and try to attack that city on the other side, or at the very least start a new city, which you could then complete. But then blocking this square is not necessarily in black's interest, because there are still a lot of big city tiles remaining, which green could use to build around his city or his ruin, and then get a lot of points for that. Whilst this road will not be able to continue itself because it's sticking into green's city. But green gets a very nice draw, gets a 5-point monastery, and with that furthers his advantage. hydrobaby recognized that blocking this square is not in their interest. Maybe they're planning to draw the shieldless horse tile that goes over here, and then of course it will be the best possible tile with which they could complete their road. Now, a scoring tile for hydrobaby starts a new road and also tries to create some pressure against this monastery over here. Just as I mentioned, the shieldless horse tile, it is drawn by not by black, but by green, who connects to the city on the left, gets their monastery finished, and is enjoying a what's turning into a more than slight advantage. But black, with a nice scoring tile, a variety of options, could go here, finish their road, start a new city. Even though this spot is slightly vulnerable, that still seems like something worth doing. I guess they could also start a new city somewhere here, but regardless of whether they start a new city, they would be giving something back. So for example, if you go over here, then maybe someone you know can draw a road and then try to build a big road very quickly. So they didn't want to do that. Instead, they finished their own city, which I don't think is the strongest move necessarily, just because this square is a little bit vulnerable. But with still multiple tiles that fit into this square, black decided to roll the dice, and now they get rewarded for it because they gave themselves a very nice monastery spot, which they're able to use. It's very important that they managed to draw something to equalize green's monastery over here. And this square is fully protected. There are still 8 curves remaining, and if black draws one of them, well, when black draws one of them, then black will be not only getting his meeple back, but also getting himself 1 extra monastery point. And now, what was that move by Vladimir? I'm really surprised that green made a move with which I profoundly disagree. So the reason why I didn't like this move so much, and I would be really curious why Vladimir did this, because it's not really what he typically does, is because from a points perspective, it's a wash. You get 0 points because you get 1 point for your city and 1 point for your opponent road. But then the problem is that you free up your opponent's road. It can now continue itself with straight lines or get to road end, or maybe there's some more sneaky options of getting a road end like this and connecting to the main field through a curve whilst also completing their road for 7 points. Whereas Vladimir's city is not guaranteed to be completed. So imagine if something like this were to be drawn by hydrobaby, then they would instantly go over here, obstruct the city, maybe invade it or block it, whilst also getting the road to safety. Now, it's okay, of course, to place a tile in the square, but typically you want to be taking care of the other squares in your city first. So later, for example, Vladimir drew this tile over here, which he just added to his city. But then probably a preferable sequence would be to just do nothing with this tile and then use that one to continue this square. But Vladimir gets bailed out by the deck here as he draws multiple city caps before Hydro is able to invade, and also this nice road end to secure this 3-point road and put some pressure on this square, gives Vladimir a 13-point advantage and a commanding lead in the game. So much so that he was even willing to sacrifice a meeple just to neutralize Hydro's monastery points here. He's now putting additional pressure on this here square, but a fantastic tile for the Taiwanese player, who now, of course, will love to use it to invade the city on the left. And the reason why they haven't done that yet is because there are 2 options. Either you can go over here and invade like this from the top side, or you can go like this, place a meeple over here and invade the bottom part. He decides to go for the top. There's several factors at play, and both of these moves have slight disadvantages. So for example, the disadvantage of this move is the fact that there's this rodent protruding out of the city, which would allow Vladimir to take 2 quick points and create a attacking platform with tempo. But then maybe it's not such a big deal because there are some other places on the board where this rodent can use, but still this move sort of gives back some easy tempos for green. The other option though seemed a bit more dangerous, because let's assume that you draw a Dorito and you join over here, then this immediately makes this road more dangerous. Now the downside of this move is the fact that now black cannot continue their road safely. Let's say if black goes over here, which actually ends up not mattering because black connects to the city anyway, and looks like we're having ourselves some fireworks, as now black is super likely to finish their city. But to finish my point, if black were to go here, this would expose a blocking or attacking platform against this square. So there was no really fully safe way to build up the city. Vladimir is now trying to do his best to block it, but it's actually something that's quite difficult to do. So at the moment he's just restricting the square. He's making sure that that some tiles at least don't fit. For example, the 2 remaining parallel city caps don't fit, daggers don't fit anymore, and in fact the only tiles remaining to complete that city are vanillas. So the 2 remaining vanilla city cap. Of course, technically Doritos with the road still fit there. Oh, Doritos with the field rather. But of course, it's not something that's going to be used by the Taiwanese player, because imagine if they get a Dorito like this, then immediately someone you know is going to draw another Dorito and place it over here, blocking the square, simultaneously blocking both this road and this city. So the best thing that the Taiwanese player can do is just sit tight, hope to draw one of the 2 city caps eventually, and if Hydro or if Vladimir goes here or maybe here to create a platform for full block or at least an invasion, then they would be able to hope to draw a tile for defense. Someone does get the parallel city caps, which are now probably going to be used over here. Exactly. So look at how Vladimir is preparing those sneaky cities. He actually has some real chances of completing this city as well, which would also complete Hydra's monastery, but this would benefit green a lot, who's now going to cover up his city on the other side. A very nice city building job here. But in the meantime, Hydro invades the main fields on the left with extra 3 points for roads, so very efficient use of tiles. This farm is now worth 12 points, and it's actually quite difficult to re-invade. So now Vladimir's position is a bit tricky because his monastery just got blocked. He will be... So if this city gets completed, not only will black get all these city points, which I think it should be 20 city points. Wow, that's really a lot. Vladimir is thinking about meepling this monastery. It's really extra. This monastery is already blocked, and it's only worth 6 points, and there's still 26 tiles to be played. And that's why Vladimir thinks about it, but then changes his mind and decides to be sparing of his meeples. So meeple a monastery like this, of course, makes sense if you're closer to the end of the game. If it's then closer to the game, meeples are a bit more dispensable. Now green really needs the meeples. So to finish my point, so this city, if it gets completed, not only will it give black 3 points, no, it will give back black 20 points for the city, and the scoreboard, it will give them 3 points in addition for the field, and then they will also get 2 meeples back, and as a result, Vladimir will be faced with both a scoreboard and meeple deficit. And now it seems to me that the Taiwanese player is getting just a little bit too greedy, and I think that this here move believe it or not, was a move that decreases their winning chances. So they're following the natural urge. They're taking 4 points and leaving a city cap into their field in order to grow it bigger. But what would have been better is just to turn the city cap the other way, not grow the field bigger, and make sure that there are no invasion platforms. Because now this square can be used by someone you know who, by the way, now has all these extra tiles, these extra meeples rather. You can go over here, invade over here through this square, and no matter what you do, it will be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to block this meeple. So having this extra city in the field in this position is actually not worth it when it comes to your winning chances, just because it gives back such an easy invasion platform. And hydrobaby now with a tricky choice, as Vladimir patiently waited to finish his row with the best possible tile. Now took 5 points, meeple back on the scoreboard, and we're having a Sophie's choice here. So hydrobaby, they could go here with the city, with the field side of the city facing down, simply protecting the square, leaving 2 tiles to complete the city, giving themselves a 75% chance. But the side effect of that move would be that they would be blocking their own road. So they're trying to think about their priorities. Their priorities should be relatively clear, actually very clear. The road meeple should be dispensable at this point, just because if you block yourself and then you draw the city cap, then your advantage on the scoreboard will be quite significant, and you still have this 15-point field, which will turn to be an 18-point field after this. And this, I mean, this move, like, trust me, it will come back to bite the player with the black meeples a lot. But to finish my point about this decision over here, the reason why it's important to protect this square and make sure that you actually do have a shot of one of those city caps is because black won't be able to win this game in case someone you know draws both city caps. Well, this means that black will be staying without meeples for a very long time, and also if green draws both city caps, then green will be using a city cap for his own city to further their scoreboard lead. So really, black needs to recognize that they do need one of these 2 city caps, and after some deliberation, or after considerable deliberation, they indeed go for this move. And look at this, told you. Well, Vladimir kind of gets a bit unlucky. Well, no, it's, Vladimir is fine. So they use this tile for invasion, then hydrobaby immediately gets their city cap. I was thinking that they could use the city cap to block the invasion square, but obviously completing the city is a greater priority. But because they were not able to use the city cap to block this invasion square, Vladimir equalizes the field. So predictable. So this greed ends up costing hydrobaby really a lot of his winning chances. Because imagine, well, think about it. What's better to have? A 15-point field just for yourself with no entry points and even this square blocked, or an 18-point field which is shared between you and your opponent and also allows your opponent, who's currently behind on the scoreboard, to now do stuff like this and even get a third meeple. I don't know, you tell me. But I'm glad that we witnessed this, because it's just an instructive moment to see how getting more points does not necessarily win you the game. I mean, getting the more points in the end of the game wins you the game, but really field geometry matters a lot. And now it's wide open. So, for example, actually hydrobaby could even go over here and try to connect to the farm. But the thing is that they won't, because they are ahead. Or what do I know? What do I know? A bit of an act of desperation, it seems to me. That seems to be way premature to be dropping farmers like this, even though, of course, that's an option. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait, so there's only 1 curve remaining to connect over here. There's still a bunch of curvy tiles, such as 3 Doritos with the road and stuff, but there's still plenty of crossroads, and if green draws one of the 2 remaining crossroads, they will go over here, finish their own road, get the extra 4 points, and cut off the black meeple over here. So regardless of whether black's invasion to the field is successful or not, by failing to cover up their field, they already got themselves into trouble. Like, this type of move is not really the type of move that you want to be making, because now it sort of gives back Vladimir 2 tiles. I mean, 2 out of 16, granted, but still 2 tiles that can just get them, that can just win the game for green on the spot. Hi Glavier, hi Ivan, hi Isna. Yeah, we can see that hydrobaby drops more farmers. Now Vladimir, of course, will take the evil hamster spot that have been noted by Glavier in the chat. Even though he will be spending his last meeple, the point of going over here is that if black does draw a tile that fits into this square and connects to the field, black will be immediately giving back meeples to green by completing green's monastery and road, and these meeples could be used immediately by green to reinvade. But he decides not to do that, and I know why. Not exactly a fan of this decision, but you know what Vladimir plans is? Vladimir's plan is to get this meeple into the field. He wants to get a Dorito with a road and another curvy tile and sneak his farmer all the way outside. But I think it's a misjudgment, just because these extra 9 points were way too valuable. Because you see now Vladimir is still behind on the scoreboard. So now he's in a position where he needs to score and then still equalize the field. But if you were to go over here for 9 points after this move, then he would still have the same 2 meeples, but he would have 9 points more. And then instead of connecting this farmer, he could have just tried create a different connection platform. So for example, now you can just go over here, take 4 points, and this will already open a connection platform to the field. And now that this square has been completed, that idea of getting himself the 2 curvy tiles is a bit tricky to implement, because black can place something in this square and restrict the options here. Or, you know, maybe black can forget and just go over here anyway. Like, a strong move by black would be just go over here, for example, and simply block that opportunity altogether. And then Vladimir would need to work hard enough to create more invasion spots, more invasion squares for the field. Okay, it's Sergey saying about a sound problem. In what way? Okay, let me just try resetting something. Oh, you were saying that the sound is fine, so I guess my stream seems to be fine. Yeah, at least we were doing pretty well with the sound recently. Okay, so Vladimir, excellent move, the monastery, which now creates 2 attacking platform against the field, and the hydrobaby cannot block both, but he can block the most potent one. So you really want to be going here first, trying to block the easier of the 2 connection platforms. Because if you go over here and block that one, then it actually inadvertently would create another connection platform through this square. It's something that is recognized by the Taiwanese player, but now Vladimir can open up another platform. So look at this. He's not going to go over here and score 4 points. Vladimir is going to go over here, score 2 points, and then open this connection platform, which would allow him to connect the farmer like this. Yeah, there we go, there we go. So Vladimir is really aiming to equalize that field, which of course is his only chance. And now an interesting decision for Hydro. So obviously, as black, you are a bit down on the scoreboard, but the field is so big that you manage to protect your 3 versus 2 majority. then you just win. And he decides to block the field invasion, and that was one of the ways to do this. Another way to do this was to go over here and drop yet another farmer, trying to just fully secure it. Because Vladimir could still theoretically re-invade either through here or through here. So a move that Vladimir can make, for example, now is place this tile over here, trying to create yet another connection platform through a dagger. But let me just check if there's still daggers in the deck. No, there aren't. So Vladimir decides to simply go for a scoring move. Wait, are there really no daggers? Yes, all 6 daggers have been used. So Vladimir goes for a scoring move. And now Hydro, I think with a bit of misguided effort, because he really needed to go over here and block that invasion platform. But Vladimir now can invade. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's still one of these tiles available. So probably Vladimir's only shot of actually winning this game is going here, dropping a farmer, and then hoping to get the last tile that goes over here and connect to the field like this. So that will be a 40% chance of that happening. And on top of that, he would need to draw something else. So he would either need to draw... Well, he would kind of need to go for the starting for the city cap, which still has not been drawn by either side. This would allow him to finish his city. Or maybe, actually, wait a second. I think the points that he has on the field might be enough. Okay, check this out. So, equality on the scoreboard. 2 monasteries cancel each other out. 2 farmers cancel each other out. This guy has 5 points, and this guy has 5 points. But hydrobaby, sadly for all our supporters of Vladimir, will be instantly drawing that tile, and the reigning champion will be going down in this one. Oh wait, I actually realized that... Yeah. But anyway, imagine if Vladimir were to draw this tile. Then this 5-point city equalizes this 5-point road, and Vladimir has a 7-point... Yeah, 7-point city over here. So he would be 7 points ahead with the field being equal. But if hydrobaby has this extra meeple, but in this position it's actually very difficult to score 7 points. So in all likelihood, even if Vladimir were not able to finish his city, Black would be coming up short a couple of points. So I believe that after this move, Green's chances of winning the game were either 40% or very close to 40%, which is a great chance to have after such a difficult position. Now the Taiwanese player is taking their time, and they decide to make a move which makes, well, doesn't make sense at all, actually. I mean, I guess there's some idea, but I just don't see why they wouldn't want to take the quick points. Maybe they just didn't notice the 3 points over here. hydrobaby gets the city cap anyway, and Vladimir is not able to finish his city. Not that it would matter. GG says Vladimir, and we're gonna have a bit of an upset for the first game. So let's see if the reigning champion can come back. He was able to come back against Glovier in week 1, in his week 1 match. Let's see if in week 2 it is possible. Yeah, so definitely well done for the Taiwanese player for finding the right moves in this city takeover and not giving up after a bit of a tricky start. You know, pulling the trigger on blocking the own road and then managing to draw the city cap just in time. Now the one but all the Taiwanese players had to sweat a little bit too hard in this one, because again, this move over here was a misevaluation from the Taiwanese player, making the field bigger but also opening it up for invasion, which led Black to implement some drastic measures. Just fortunately for them, these drastic measures ended up working like a charm, and then a flawless field defense and a couple of moves made Vladimir resort to a 40% chance invasion, which ended up not working out. Alrighty, so we should be looking at game 2 in any second, and it has already started. This time Vladimir, the starting player, gets the first 4-pointer of the game, but Hydro with the first monastery places a black meeple right in the center to it, but immediately Vladimir with the equalization, so now these monasteries cancel each other out, and the 4 points on the scoreboard is the only difference in this position. Hydro with a splitty cap. Oh yeah, why did I just call it a splitty cap? No, it's a splitter. A city splitter is gonna start a new city whilst also dropping the other city cap next to his monastery, hoping to gain that extra monastery point. But Vladimir, with the second monastery of the game, now gets himself some nice squares for further developments, and Hydro, to compensate for that, gets a curve and drops the first farmer of the game. Now this farmer is only worth 3 points because of this one completed city on the left, but there are 2 more cities waiting to happen and loads of green squares for future development. In fact, it's actually quite difficult to build cities anywhere but this main field, so absolutely a worthy meeple investment, and it looks like someone, you know, found the one square where he can actually build. But Hydro immediately with a city cap tile, that gives him a monastery point, 4 more on the scoreboard, and nice equalization over here. Vladimir with a straight line, probably a pretty straightforward move of adding 1 point to themselves whilst also restricting Hydro's monastery, Hydro's city rather. Hydro with a decision here. The move I actually like here most is going over here and meepling the road. It is a little bit crazy, but this road will be worth a lot of points and it sticks very nicely in this city cap. He goes for the other alternative, which I like also, just trying a new city cap, but the issue with that move is that there's now this platform to attack both of Hydro's city at the same time, especially if Vladimir were to draw something like this. This would actually have been quite devastating for both the cities and the field development prospects. And you can see that Vladimir is really continuing with that city attack. So this square is already restricted. There are, of course, 3 tiles still left, but Vladimir could go here later and restrict the square completely, or block it completely, rather. Vladimir now managed to neutralize the threat of this city, but it looks like we're in for another big city fight, because Hydro now kind of has to go over here and has to meeple this, because the thing is, if you don't, if you just ignore that square, Vladimir going to get himself a triangle and invade himself and then build up a big thing. Well, he's gonna build himself up a lot of stuff, a big city, and then complete it. So green is building up his monasteries in a way that also restricts the farm, so that is great. Hydro decides to take 2 points and get himself a monastery meeple back, and also add some squares to his field. An honorable mention was just going over here and leaving it open. So if you were to place this road monastery and not meeple anything, this would take care of expanding the field and give all the green squares, but it would also pre-finish this lovely 6-point road, which can only benefit black, because whoever draws the tile to take the 6-point road, they would be connecting all the cities, of course. So Vladimir, of course, will not leave this alone. He had enough of his opponent having big cities that decide the game, so he decides to invade. And it has some downsides, like if he gets a Dorito tile and invades, this will open up a square for re-invasion, but this has not happened just yet. Hydro now with the road move decides to even meeple it just in case, because there's still 3 tiles that fit into this square, and he's betting on being able to draw one of them, which is an absolutely reasonable bet. Vladimir with a very interesting move over here, trying to really play against that field. And if anything, I probably, as Vladimir, I would have preferred this move like one side to the left, restricting the field even further. Now he is able to finish his monastery, and at least one square was gained by hydrobaby, and this is where he will want to be drawing city caps to develop that field. Vladimir and his opponents exchange quick points. Very close on the scoreboard. The temporary meeple advantage for the play with the green meeples, but Black finishes a 6-point road, gets himself a meeple back, and gets themselves the scoreboard lead. That was a very nice road find. Vladimir now shows an example of patience and prioritization. They could have used this Dorito tile to invade the big city, but they realize that there's still plenty of Dorito tiles remaining, and so they can do this later. And so the purpose of this move was to unify the 2 cities at the bottom, making sure that Black does not have an 8-point city of his own, which is, by the way, what Black would have had if not for this move by Green. Black now decides to finish his own city next to Green's monastery, also meepling the road which goes through that monastery. Actually, this road has some nice prospects. This field already is worth 9 points and has lots of green, well, not a lot, but a couple of green squares for further development. This city cap, which was just taken advantage of by Vladimir, with a couple of more tiles here and here, could be part of the main field, and with 4 completed cities equivalent to 12 points in the field, this is more than enough to justify the investment of this meeple. Hydro's now 8 points ahead of the scoreboard. Vladimir will be getting 9 points upon the completion of this monastery, so only a slight advantage for Hydro. The advantage is due to this road over here, and due to the fact that Vladimir has not yet connected to the main city of the game, which he now just has. Also, the best possible tile to do that, it doesn't even give back a platform for re-invasion, because if this were a Dorito, then this square could have been used as an attacking platform. Now, the only way for either side to re-invade this city would be to get the one remaining splitter tile, just as Black did in the previous game, and then to draw a triple city, one of the 3 remaining triple cities that connect over here. So it's definitely a harder city to invade than the one that we witnessed last game. And now an interesting move by Vladimir. So this represents not only a desire to start a new city, but also a certain strategic decision. Probably as Green, instead I would have gone over here to try and build a city here and take 6 points instead of 4, but Green chose to start a city in Black's field with the sole intention of finishing it and dropping a farmer. So this means that Green is trying to invade the field in the future. The one issue with this move that I see is, first of all, that it will get him 4 points instead of 6 points for a city, and when he's a bit behind, you really want to score a little bit more. And the reason why also I would have preferred the other move was the fact that upon the completion of the city, you can actually drop a farmer here. And in general, there were other farming platforms available, such as this one over here at the bottom. So you don't actually need to be finishing cities in your opponent's field in order to create that attacking platform. In many situations, it is necessary, but here the field is just not as closed. And now that Vladimir has built the city in that field, it has become worth 12 points, so this means the significance of that field increases. Now, whereas before green had the option whether to or not attack the field. Now green kind of has to attack the field. He did, of course, get some good tiles despite these 3 points for black, which helped black not only to regain the lead on the scoreboard, but also obstruct the city a little bit. Vladimir immediately drew a city cap that fit right into the square, but no field attacking platform, so he will need to go there next move as Hydro tries to take advantage of these tiles, get themselves the 6 points that Vladimir didn't want to get. And we'll see if Vladimir tries to do anything about this. So green could go over here and try and punish that meeple, given the fact that a lot of, well, not a lot, but some city plus road tiles have gone out. But Vladimir instead decides to go for a field attack straight away. It's something that's very easy to be blocked. So as black, you probably now really want to go over here. You really want to go over here, block that square, make sure that it is restricted to a road monastery, because both road monasteries are already on the field, so invasion will not be possible. Now, why would green draw for such a risky invasion, you may ask? Well, the answer is that this invasion is actually not that risky. Even though this farmer will not be penetrating that field, he actually has a perfectly fine field in his own right here. It already has 3 points due to this completed city cap, 6 points if the black meeple here manages to finish his constructing works, and 3 further points upon the unification of these two cities, which is something that was in Vladimir's interest anyway. So it will be a nice 9-point farmer there. There are also some scenarios how black gets his road blocked as well, which is not what appears to be happening now. And of course, green still has enough meeples to invade over here. Now you may ask, if this is such a good farmer in its own right, then what was the point of blocking this square? Well, the point is that because Vladimir has a meeple majority, you really don't want to have big fields in this game, because you see he still has the other platform, and now with this farmer still in the main field as well, that would be actually quite the disaster for the player with the black meeples, because then black would really need to find a square for reinvasion. Black is kind of short on meeples. Well, not anymore, as Vladimir has spent his meeples on farming, and now he's trying to use some meeples for scoring. So he starts a new city over here, and it will need not 1 but 2 tiles to complete himself the city. But this allows hydrobaby to do stuff like this, because now Vladimir is without meeples whatsoever. He just risk-free starts building an 8-point city, which he now might even claim. But I wouldn't. I think we need to be disciplined here and just go over here, finish our city, enjoy a 2 versus 0 lead on the meeples and a 9-point lead on the scoreboard, and then we can still draw a city cap and take advantage of that city before Vladimir gets himself a meeple back. But black decided to take advantage of the 8 points straight away, and thank you for pointing in the chat, Isna, that this is the last dagger. So now, with any tile, Vladimir can go over here and actually block that square and deny black a meeple. But the question is, will that even matter if Hydro is so far ahead on the scoreboard? And look, Hydro even managed to protect their city just before Vladimir was going to block it. Now that they've placed a curve next to it, it's not possible to block in 1 move, so green will need at least 2 moves in order to do that. And there are still plenty of tiles, and by plenty I mean 5 that fit into that square for a meeple recovery. So greed now absolutely pays off for the Taiwanese player. He still has the meeple majority. Vladimir chooses to connect the 2 cities to get a meeple back. This guy still needs 2 more city caps. In all likelihood, green will be completing his city here. For example, with 2 starting tiles or 2 barbed wire tiles. Both of these combinations are still available in the deck. Hydro with a monastery tile. not a lot of places to use it. You kind of need to decide whether meepling a monastery is worth it and whether meepling a monastery does actually increase your win percentage here. So the one obvious spot that I'm seeing over here is this, and if I'm meepling over here, then before doing so, what I need to be doing is count up all the road tiles and see how likely are you actually to continue and complete the monastery. For example, are they crossroads? Are there straight lines? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 straight lines, and actually that's quite a reasonable point here. And I think I like the monastery here for 5 points because we have a bit of a scoreboard lead. We can definitely get this monastery to at least 8 points, which would further our scoreboard lead. And we have some other threats on the board. We can, for example, go here, finish the city, drop a farmer. We can still finish our road. So we have other sources of meeples. But another reason I actually want to be going over here is to protect the field, which is what Hydro sort of kind of does anyway. Someone, now builds up his city, but not with the pattern I would want to see him do that. We're running really, really short on Dorito tiles, so this city actually might get blocked. We're going to see if that's the case in a second. But my point was this. Before this move over here, if Hydro were to go over here, then because there was this platform, like a straight line could be used like this for either side to draw a farmer. And with the monastery over here, this square would already be part of the monastery, and then the invasion could be somewhat restricted. So it had an additional merit, but Black decided to just eliminate that field connection platform entirely, which appears to be wise. Now Black decides if it's worth to go over here and finish the road. So this would of course add 2 extra points to that road, but it would also give green a meeple back, just as it would give Black a meeple back. And suddenly we would have a 2 versus 3 meeple disadvantage for someone, instead of 1 versus 2. And the Taiwanese player decided that these 2 extra points are not worth it, and he does not want to alleviate Vladimir's meeple situation, and here I have to agree. Instead, he chooses to create an attacking platform against Green City. Green with not a lot of options here. He can't really protect that city properly, so probably his best move is to maybe go here and try to create some sort of blocking threat. This, of course, has the downside of exposing an empty city cap in what's, in all likelihood, going to be Black's field, because the threat is not only to finish Black's city and drop a farmer. Yeah, the decision with this tile is so difficult that I don't even want to think about it. I just want to see what Vladimir does. Hi, Wise Maze. Hi, Helga. Vladimir, with 1 minute and 30 seconds on his clock. He has saved more difficult position than this. For example, one possible route back into this game would be blocking this meeple, accepting this meeple being blocked, but then drawing the splitter and trying to connect to the city. But instead, Vladimir decided to eliminate that opportunity altogether. So does he think that he can win by outplaying his opponent? I don't see exactly how you're making up for 11 points. So Black chooses to go over here and try to equalize the city, but just before Black was going to finish his other one, the blocking sequence over here is complete. So very nice maneuver here by the player with the green meeples. Now, this meeple is trapped at just 2 points, but actually this is not so much consolation for green, because his own farm is trapped for 6 points, which is really not a lot more than 2. Okay, it's 4 more points than 2, but it's still, given the 11 points scoreboard lead, puts Black slightly ahead. But now the path back into the game is a bit more realistic. For example, a splitter now could be used in another productive way. Instead of invading the city, Vladimir has this one square, this one teeny tiny field square that he can use to drop the splitter over here and get a couple of farm points with city caps. That would surely do the trick. Also, we need to point out that this 8-point monastery is currently outscoring this 4-point road. This, of course, will be eventually completed. Hydro now decides to start a new city with his last meeple. I'm sure that Vladimir is going to go over here and try to create some sort of attacking platform against that city. It is unlikely to work given how many city caps there are remaining, but you never know, because some of the tiles remaining are not city caps. And actually, there's still crossroads in the deck. There's still 2 barbed wire tiles, and they are important for a variety of reasons, and they actually would benefit Vladimir quite a lot. First of all, there's this 5-point road up for grabs, which could absolutely swing the game. And second, closer to the end of the game, Vladimir could actually place the crossroads over here, shortening Hydro's road, capping it at just 5 points, and then getting the 3 extra points for himself. So really a lot is going to depend on who draws these tiles. Yeah, like if you are green, you actually start liking your position a little bit more, because even you're behind a little bit now, and even though Hydro now finishes a 4-point city, there's some really good tiles still awaiting in the deck. This is one of them. It's a reasonable one. We can score 3 points, almost as much as Hydro scored in his last move. 12 points on the scoreboard. Hydro will respond in kind, except that he can't score 3 points. He can score only 2. Still good enough. Maybe just going... I'm not even sure where, actually. There's also a crazy move available to just go over here and meeple the new road. But then we're running a bit too short on road ends for us to be doing stuff like this. Because if you're Hydro, you're still ahead, and you still want to try and find a path to victory, even if someone you know happens to draw both butterfly tiles remaining. Both of these guys. Also note that Black cannot block this 5-point road. If he were to go over here and take 2 points, which is probably what he might do anyway, then a crossroads with a city, where the butterfly tile will still fit there anyway. Hydro. Still deciding on how to move. They could just take 2 points over here, for example. But instead they take 2 points here, which actually... Okay, so they go for that move. Oh, it's really risky. I think it's a bit extra, and I think just plain 2 points were a little bit better. So with this move, what Hydro is saying, they're saying that they will only win the game if they draw one of the 2 crossroad tiles before their last move. So they're still a favorite to do that. But Vladimir now got the 5 points for the road, and in addition they have another city cap in the field, which is huge. And it's also now not obvious. Do they go over here and try and meeple that city, or do they try and go over here to set up making more points with a potential splitter? There's actually merit to doing that, believe it or not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, Vladimir just tries to go there, simply pre-building a city in a more direct way, which also makes sense, but there were some arguments against that too. It's a really interesting endgame. Hydro cannot score And I think what they might have to do is actually just go over here and pre-finish the city, allowing Vladimir to take the 3 extra points because the city is completed, just to make sure that Vladimir cannot grab 6 points for the city himself. But then also I'm not sure if that would work, because if they choose to deny Vladimir a city, they will be placing the city... Yeah, okay, they go like this. Vladimir with a curvy tile, and I believe they should be winning this, actually. It's a pretty easy endgame to calculate. There are 2 tiles remaining. And what are they? So, of course, one is the crossroad tile. And if Vladimir gets the crossroad tile, he just wins easily, because they get to complete the city. And for example, what he could do now, he could go over here, protect the square, and then try to complete the city for 7 extra points. But he needs to decide, can he actually win even if Hydro gets the other tile? And his answer is yes, Hydro does get the crossroads to get himself a meeple bag, but not in time to use it. And Vladimir, with a more normal city cap, just adds himself extra road points. And I believe that Green should have this. They have the 6-point road. They managed to successfully develop their field to 9 points. And I think we see a nice comeback. And just this move over here by Hydro making it a bit more risky than it has to be. Even though it's a decent move when you look at pure equity, actually it slightly decreased their winning chances, because there were chances for Hydro to win with a safer approach. So Vladimir manages to put a rabbit out of the hat with a bit of a help from his opponent. And yeah, I told you, he has come back from worse positions. The score is tied 1-1, and we're headed to our decider. So I hope that the Taiwanese player is not too distraught. I hope they manage to collect themselves and still deliver their absolute best in the decider. Because like very often when you're up 1-0 and when you're close to winning the second game, oh yeah, so basically I was saying that like sometimes when you win the first game and then you come close to winning the second game and then your opponent makes a comeback, then it can be quite demoralizing to play the decider because you think that you're going to lose. And like some of the worst losses in matches that I ever experienced were this exact scenario. So let's see if Black managed to collect themselves. At least they're doing fine despite the fact that Green has already 6 points on the scoreboard. Black has a fantastic looking city here and the first monster of the game, and if they complete the city, then it's going to be a slight advantage for them. Only a slight advantage because somehow Vladimir managed to already accumulate 10 points with a city cap and a couple of roads, but finally the Taiwanese player is up on the scoreboard with a modest but important 2 points for a road. Sunny369 is asking why is the butterfly tile were called the butterfly tile. Well, it's not necessarily what it's called, it's just what I call it, but I used to call it the barbed wire tile, but because it just looks like barbed wire with all these extra spikes. But I've noticed that it's just a bit too long to pronounce. I know it's kind of like looks like a butterfly to me with all these wings, and it's because it gets spread in all these parts. You can score here, you can score here, you can score here, you can score everywhere. So it's and of course it's also like very beautiful, almost like a transformation, because this tile is so valuable for Carcassonne players, and also because many tiles just by convention somehow have animal names. You know, there's a cow, there's a horse, and why not a butterfly? Vladimir with quite the farming move to counter Hydro's big city, which, by the way, was built unnecessarily risky. Like this move here was just a mistake. Because imagine if Vladimir were to draw this tile one move earlier, he would have gone over here and invaded the city. So this was an absolutely unnecessary risk by Hydro. Just starting a new city with this tile was so much better, but ends up doing just fine with 8 points on the scoreboard, but overall equal position because Vladimir has the best developed monastery, has already an interesting city project over here, and a decent farmer, which now, of course, is about to get attacked. But Vladimir, immediately with the city cap tile, manages to get 4 quick points, 1 monastery point, and prepare to even finish his monastery and get an impenetrable 12-point field. Hydro with a city cap tile. Now thinking whether to finish his city and drop a farmer, because you really have to start invading that field. It just gets too good. Or maybe we go over here and try to put some pressure against this square. Hydro is going to go the farming equalization route. Of course, there's no direct access to the field, but easy access through one of these collections of 2 tiles. Vladimir starts a 4-point road. Hydro probably going to go over here now. And they, in fact, do that. A farmer is now much closer to being connected, so Vladimir probably might even help it out a little bit. Or maybe he just might want to go over here to finish his road straight away and then get himself some more munitions to fight for the field, which is exactly what he does. We're kind of running short on crossroads, so you don't want to really be staying with that meeple there for too long. Hydro with a blocking tile probably can go here to break Vladimir's city a little bit. That would be annoying enough. In theory, you could just add 1 more monastery point to yourself, but I'm not a fan of that move just because it makes it so much harder to build up the monastery efficiently. Let's see if black chooses something else. There's actually also an option of going over here, trying to expose some sort of blocking platform against that square. Also trying to set up a Dorito tile and another farmer and a monastery over here that would connect both potential black farmers into the field at once. But this move would have a downside. The downside would be that green would be able to get a straight line and place it over here and not only protect the square but also drop 1 more farmer. Now black does choose to break green city, but not in the best possible way. It's just too easy to defend. So going over here would have been much more disruptive. It would have made this square sensitive. And as for this part of the city, this is actually the part that you want to be leaving alone, because it allows Vladimir for stuff like this. Now his city is way safer. This square is protected. These squares are slightly vulnerable, I guess, but it's quite easy for him to build up his city quickly if he so chooses. And then this could be worth, you know, north of 20 points or something. And Vladimir is really going for it. He's not even going to wait for one of the 2 Doritos here, which I'm not sure how I feel about this. I think it's a bit of an inefficient use of a tile. But at the very least, it forces black to chase around. Now Vladimir protects this square, builds a 4-point road going through the city. Then his next move was going to draw a Dorito, go over here, cover up, get a city cap, and it looks like he's finishing that city in all likelihood. So yeah, very often, like when you have one of those cow tiles, it's a common thing to use a cow tile to add to your opponent's city to make it harder to complete, but it's actually quite the science to find the exact best orientation and the exact best square to add it to his city. So the other day we saw a Group G match between Ervin G of Romania and Napalm I of Latvia. So I assume maybe some of you saw that stream, and that the second game was lost by the Romanian master because he blocked the he tried to use a cow tile against his opponent's city, but not in the best orientation, and then it just ended up creating too big of a city for the Latvian player. Vladimir is playing what normally would be a very risky move, but this farm is actually way safer than it might seem. There's still 6 curves that go into this square, and all of the 4 crossroads have gone out. So Hydro has no way of going over here and blocking, unless, of course, he were to do something like this and block the square completely. But actually, this is still okay for Vladimir, because this means that Hydro was not able to take advantage of this monastery. So, of course, this meeple has been blocked, and it's a 0-point farmer, but it cost Hydro 9 points, which is kind of close to the value of a meeple anyway. So I would call that certainly a success for Vladimir, and if Vladimir draws this tile here anyway, that would give him even more points. Also, in the meantime, Green is really trying to build up his city over here. And actually, if he so succeeds, if he gets a city cap here, and a city cap here, and a road here, not only will he be completing his city, but he will be also scoring with this farmer. So there is now absolutely a way for this farm to be connected way over here. Or actually, going like this, and like this, and like this, and like this with a crossroads, and like this with a curve, and like this with a curve. Well, so there's a sequence of like 5 specific tiles that need to be drawn, but I just wanted to point out that with those 5 specific tiles, there is actually a chance for Green to connect all the way through the outside. I don't think it's going to be worth the tile investment, but it's something that can be worth considering. Green now can do a variety of things. They decide to drop a farmer over here, and with this move, they make it actually guaranteed that they're getting a farmer in, because a farmer can go through here or through here. But they're also expanding the field significantly. For example, Hydro can go over here and drop a farmer and get a monastery. But this is where the evilness of Vladimir's plan in many scenarios might come to light. Then this farmer, through a straight line over here, through a city tile over here, through a city tile over here, might end up coming all the way here through the outside and joining the party initiated by this farmer over here. So the thing with these 0-point farmers, like Carcassonne very often works in such a way that as you build up, and if you don't careful, just all farms tend to unite, unless you're actively trying to prevent them from doing so. Now, Vladimir with a straight road, you could actually take care of that spot, or maybe you could just go over here. Yeah, that would make the block of the square much harder. So Hydro, of course, is trying very hard to block it. But if Vladimir goes here, then suddenly we'll be running very short on blocking tiles. In fact, there will be only 3 blocking tiles in the entire deck. So if Vladimir goes here, then the only types of tiles that can block this square would be the starting tile that fits here, or the one remaining horse tile, the triple city with the road. But instead, Vladimir chooses an indirect defense, which is sort of kind of a little bit dangerous. Also, Hydro gets his 9 points for his second attempt at drawing the monastery. But I think the reason why Vladimir kind of wanted to go here is the idea of bringing that farmer in. And so now, Vladimir can absolutely connect to the farms with 2 daggers. So let's say if he gets a straight line, he can go here, block that square or restrict that square, then get 1 dagger, another dagger, and whoop, connect over here. And I think this is really his plan. It only happens like 25% of the time, and Vladimir decides to drop more farmers and more farmers. But when it does work, it just seems to be completely unstoppable. Well, anyway, if he completes his city, he does not actually need to connect this farmer. I think he's going to score well enough that he could justify half his meeples blocked. He's going to get his meeple back from the city. He could redeploy a farmer somewhere. Or maybe, since he dropped a farmer here, he could just have all the farmers that he already has but simply a better chance of protecting this field geometrically, perhaps. So sometimes you can win a big field if you're short on meeples, if you just happen to get your timing right. So if you invade and then you try and block all the possible invasion squares for your opponent, so that even if they have a lot of meeples, they cannot use them. Someone you know with a fantastic tile that manages to complete the field invasion and also disrupt Hydro City over here. Really, the momentum is going to Vladimir here. Hydro is still ahead comfortably. They now have a strong move. They could place this tile over here, pre-finish their monastery, also help their city a little bit, just to put a bit more of that scoring onslaught. Wisemaze was suggesting Helge is saying that in Russian the butterfly tile is called an umbrella. I've never heard that in my life, despite the fact that Russian is my first language. Although it's a pretty name. The one thing that I do know interesting about Russian nomenclature is that what we in English call city cap in Russian are dumplings. So they really have a lot of food associations as well. So yeah, so apparently there are 23 dumpling tiles in the deck. And if you think about it, or if you look at them, yeah, they kind of look like this. But yeah, a Wisemaze was suggesting actually a very interesting move for hydrobaby a few moves ago. So instead of this move, turning the tile the other way and blocking towards a vanilla. And the purpose would be, well, the reason for that move would be the fact that the vanilla tile is already needed by Vladimir over here, and that we're running short on vanilla tiles anyway. But I still can't blame Hydro for going over here, because blocking towards the dagger is the most standard kind of block that there is. Well, look at this. Actually, neither player cares about each other's cities, because Vladimir does not defend his city. Hydrobaby doesn't block Vladimir's city. Instead, they choose to build up a city of their own. And I guess they're saying that they're so far ahead on the scoreboard that they just don't care. But Vladimir has absolutely a chance of winning this game. I think a move like this is in order, because this square can still be blocked, and there's still two daggers that fit into this square. I think, yes, there are still two daggers, because a lot of daggers have been drawn, but they were daggers of the other kind. Oh, this is Hydro's move. Okay, I'm not... I guess I can see some purpose behind it. Maybe it's just... Oh yeah, well, the purpose is to not allow Vladimir to place a straight line here that would protect this, that would block the square. Because black still wants to have chances to draw a tile that fit into the square, and they do. And with that move, they get Vladimir's cities blocked, and I think it should seal the deal for them, because the scoreboard lead is simply too much. Even though Vladimir now did a great job of taking care of the fields with his meeple minority, as I said, so he now 3-2 on the field, but the field is only worth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 21 points. So it won't quite cut it, given that Hydro's lead is 25. Now Vladimir still has a nice ruin over here for 11 points, but I can foresee black drawing a couple of tiles that allow them to score 11 points. So for example, there's a 6-point field over here up for grabs with the potential of attacking the main field. And it's not that easy to protect. So let's say Vladimir goes over here, tries to eliminate that field. It opens another connection platform over here and an even better connection platform right here on the top through one of these two squares, which actually it's a real pain to block. So yeah, I think that maybe this move by Vladimir was a bit too rushed. I guess they're trying to make sure that they can still connect to the main field, that they can still unify all the fields, but we don't appear to have been in a rush. It was just so much more important to go over here and prevent Black from doing what they did, because a 75% chance of finishing yourself a great city is this just a great chance. Now also Black manages to find a wonderful invasion square through one of the curves or daggers for that matter, and they're also taking advantage of the fact that it's unblockable because all 4 crossroads have gone out. So the only way for Vladimir to block is to build up over here and then try to place a tile over here, but it will give Black a chance to defend. Now Green, of course, will be thinking a lot where exactly to deploy this tile, whether it's going to be here or here. I doubt that we are going to see a different move than this. Yeah, he goes over here indeed, and Hydro just manages to invade immediately. And so all this effort, all this field effort will come to a halt and now put Green in a position where they need to invade again. But yeah, also another reason why I really didn't like this move is the fact that there's still a chance to invade the main field through the dagger. And let's say if this route get blocked somehow, then later if you get a dagger, well, then you can reevaluate. Then you can actually not finish your city because you don't have to. Then you can just go over here and connect like this. And if you don't draw either of the daggers, well, you're probably not winning the game anyway at that point. Oh yeah, adding one more point about the tile, Helges, you're saying, dear tile, many names. It also, I really like the one that the Belgian player Crafty came up with. He likes to call it a versatile. Well, I guess it's a bit of a clunky name when you pronounce it into the game, but I very much appreciate the wordplay. All right, so Vladimir is now getting himself a city tile, which is good for city building, but it is his last meeple, and so he really needs to decide whether he needs to start a new city, then draw a city cap on his next move, get himself a meeple back, and then have a bit more of a point buffer that would allow him to win the game if he chooses to invade the field later on. He will absolutely have to win the field. There's just no other way of making up 25 points on the scoreboard. But I guess the main decision that you have to make, whether it's even worth it to invest your last meeple like this, and I think the answer is yes, simply because Vladimir just needs to score a bit more and then invade. Yeah, so you see, he's now in a bit of a pickle, because I guess he would want to go over here with this tile and drop a farmer, so he really needs the city cap first, and then he needs to invade. Oh, no, 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 no. What is that greed? Do we really need these extra 2 points in order to win? Because, like, he just exposed the connection platform against the city. Why would you do that? Is that because it's the last city cap? But no, it isn't. Or did he, according to him, does he really need those extra 2 points in order to win? Because Hydro just goes over here and it's game over. Incidentally, Hydro did manage to draw both daggers anyway, so the blocking of the city ended up not doing too much damage. Yeah, wait, no, I think there's I mean, this certainly has to be extremely flawed because, yeah, Hydro just invades, and it's GG. But even if Hydro were not to invade, like, even if he were to get something like a curve and go over here and restrict the square, imagine like Hydro gets a curve, and Vladimir gets this, the butterfly tile, as I'm going to call it, then that's a disaster. Well, I mean, it turns out that Vladimir still really couldn't do that much. But maybe, no. Like, imagine if he... Yeah, in order to win, Green needed to get a city cap tile like on his next move. So, I mean, like a move before. Because then he would have a meeple to go over here and then here, or just have here, and have some sort of invasion for the field. Even over here like this through the outside of the curve was possible. So yeah, it looks like we're seeing ourselves an upset. The Taiwanese player did not allow the unnecessary loss in the second game get to them, and they managed to pull themselves together. They're now getting themselves a 4-point road. Vladimir is getting the tile with which he would have continued his city. Of course, just one move too late. So there's really not much that he can do here. Actually, there is if he just wants to score a little bit. Maybe if we just drop the city cap in our field, and if there happens to be another city cap, then we get to go over here and finish our city. I don't think there is another city cap, but we still can hope for that. Okay, there's definitely not another city cap. So that was the last one. Another monastery for Hydro. For a 0-point move, and someone, you know, with just a little non-move towards the end. Hydro also makes a 0-point move, but they will win this game by a lot. Yeah, the Taiwanese player ended up drawing actually all 6 daggers in this game. So I know that a lot of players dislike when their opponents draw 6 monasteries, but it's actually pretty hard to win against 6 daggers either. But overall, I really don't think that Vladimir gets to complain much about his tile draws. I mean, he got his nice field over here. The daggers were certainly a bit of a problem, but he kind of got enough city caps to stay afloat, and if he were just... Okay, if he just managed to finish the city a little bit sooner, then he equalizes the farm, and then actually he would win because the farm is big enough. So the difference is 19 points. With 8 extra, you get like 23. Or not 8, but 4 extra. Well, it's a bit too long to explain that. Of course, it wouldn't be 8 extra because 4 of these points were already gained. Yeah, with 4 extra points, the difference is reduced to 15 points. And the field, of course, is way bigger than that. The field, I believe, was 21 or 24. 21 happens to be the size of the field. And this would be just enough for Vladimir to win by like 2 or 3 points, depending on what Hydro does with this meeple. Actually, it would have been just incredibly close. But it happened how it happens. A tough game, tough match for the reigning champion, who will now be going a bit lower in the standings, but certainly a huge feat for hydrobaby of Taiwan. So definitely congratulations to all my Taiwanese fans. Well, also to point out that I felt like in last game, Black managed to kind of outplay Green in a couple of scenarios, even though of course overall was a very, very high level game. It's just Hydro ended up doing what they had to do. They were proactive, trying to equalize and then overrun green's farm, and then this move was a very nice found and a very counterintuitive one, because normally you don't like invasions through the outside of a curve because they're normally risky because they can't be blocked. So it's the recognition of the exact tiles remaining that needed to occur there, so that you drop this farmer without fear of getting blocked. And this was the most high prop connection. So I think what many players would have done, they would have just waited and maybe tried to invade somewhere over here, because also it's an intuitive thing to do, that you already meeple a 6-point field and then invade a little bit further. But certainly a very nice find here for the Taiwanese player, which wins them the match. Let me just update the scoreboard to reflect that. And let's now have a look at the group situation. Now, Vladimir is still doing pretty well because they won their first match. They will be now sliding to shared 4th place, but they still have many games to play, and they already, I think, had their hardest match against Glovier of Portugal, and that they managed to win, which is a key matchup for one of the top 3 spots. This should probably be relatively hard against Sing 107, but I still expect the reigning champion to be the favorite in that one, and in all other matches as well. As for Hydro, this now gives them great chances for advancing, and I think there'll be a key duel between Hydro and Glovier at a later point in this tournament, a couple of weeks from now. So yeah, that's the Group A situation. But more interesting is to see the situation in the rest of the tournament, because we're having ourselves an absolutely packed day. In a few minutes, I'm going to wrap up the stream, so we're just going to have not a break in the stream, but a separate stream, because I really want to take those extra half an hour off just because there's so many events today. But then 1700 UTC, Portgard versus Samuelson, Vietnamese versus Ukrainian Master, should be a very high level game. Then immediately after this, we will be seeing ourselves Micrack versus MTU, the battle of two the letter M loving players from Spain and Poland, 1800 UTC. Then we're having ourselves another break. Then it's going to be Viv versus Game Over. And finally, and this is where I'm going to bring in a special guest, our main match of the week, Koki Yamaguchi versus Stat Matt. So really a lot of Carcassonne to watch today. Actually, I want to point out that by 2000 UTC, there's another event happening in parallel. This also happens to coincide with the semifinals of the Belgian Online Championship, which also should be pretty interesting. So you might have a sneak peek of this, and depending if my viewers prefer, so do let me know in the chat how you feel about this. I might actually even run a poll after this in the next couple of hours. If you all prefer, then we might even switch either halfway or immediately to have a look at the Belgian semifinals instead. That said, the second semifinals I'm quite likely to stream. It's still being scheduled, but it should be happening a couple of days from now. And the finals of the Belgian Online Championships I'm streaming for sure. So this is going to be just the semis. But yeah, a lot of, you see like 2 matches in parallel of CCL, plus that other events going on. Really a lot of Carcassonne today. And as for the rest of the weekend, we're gonna talk about that a little bit later. So I'm gonna see you all in half an hour. Make sure to like this video for the algorithm. If you want to stay on top of all these streams coming up, there's going to be a lot of them, and a lot of them are going to be on a short notice due to the fast-paced nature of this tournament. So make sure to subscribe and click the bell notification icon. And then that's going to be it. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you soon.